Well, welcome to another session of Just Me. We're joined today by Dafydd Hardy, who I have known for many, many years and I regard as an amazing person. So, David, who are you? Obviously, we know who you are. And what is it that you do?
So, Dafydd Hardy, I'm a chartered surveyor and an estate agent, and with my co-director Richard Thomas, we run a estate agents company in Northwest Wales, which employs over 50 people, and we've been going for about 28 years now.
Wow.
And then home life, I'm married, I've got four children, and the youngest of whom has just finished university, thank goodness.
Oh. So, tell me, how did you get where you are to today? What's been your kind of route from, ground roots kind of birth all the way to today? What's been your little
Oh,
journey?
I've had quite an interesting life actually, because thanks mainly to my dad, who was a consultant anaesthetist in the end in the Ysbyty Gwynedd. But we used to obviously travel from place to place
Mm.
because of his job, and he'd move from one locum to another. And then eventually ended up in Cardiff in the Royal Infirmary as a senior registrar. And I went to the first Welsh school, which is set up in Cardiff first, called Bryn Tab. And from there, we went to America. We went to Boston in Massachusetts,
Gosh.
because he went to work in the Peter Pan Brigham Hospital there, and he worked on the first transplant operation over there.
Whoa.
Yeah, and he was a very he was quite a famous guy at the end in his field. And I went to school in Boston. We sailed actually. He went out first on a propeller aeroplane. And
Wow.
we went on a passenger liner from the Liverpool docks to New York, and we picked up people in Southern Ireland off Cork. The tender came out and loaded the Irish on, and off we sailed across the Atlantic. I was about 10 then, I think, 9 or 10.
Wow.
Yeah,
And do you
and
remember it all? I mean, you must
I
do.
do, I do. Vivid
God.
memories of playing table tennis on deck, and
Oh, man.
yeah, and going to the cinema to watch Swiss Family Robinson. And
Oh,
there was a bit in Swiss Family Robinson where the tiger jumps out of the screen. And my younger brother is 4 years younger than me. Every time we got to that bit, he cried and wanted to go home to go back to my mum. So it took me 20 years to see the end of that film because it took me three times, and I had to leave three times.
and how long was the passage? How long did it take?
It took, I think it was 7 days, 5 or 7
Wow.
days, and no swimming pool on Earth. And it was a typical passenger liner because in those days, obviously, people used to emigrate and used to go to Australia and that on ships, didn't they? They didn't
Mm.
used to fly then. Um, so yeah, it was quite an experience. Quite an experience. Hmm.
So that got you to Boston.
Yeah, I went to school there for a while,
Wow.
and I can remember my dad taking me into the classroom, and we were obviously a class full of American kids, and the teacher said to them, "This little boy's come all the way from Wales. Does anyone know where Wales is?" And sort of 30 odd kids
Wow.
just shook their heads and went, "Nope, we don't know where Wales is." But by the time I
Wow.
left, they knew where Wales was. You can bet you bottom dollar.
You put it on the map.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
But
did
that
you
was
was sort of hostile there, or were they sort of very inclusive? Did
oh
they
no, no,
welcome
they're
you?
very, very friendly, very friendly.
Wow.
And we lived in one of the poorer parts of Boston, and we lived in an apartment there. Um, yeah, there was four of us. As four of us went over with my mother, um, and it was yeah. My mum and dad used to go to the supermarket, and I used to cook. I can't believe this now, but I used to fry eggs and uh, bacon and stuff for my brothers when they'd
Mm.
gone to the supermarket. I was only about 9 or 10.
Wow.
It's just it never happened now.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how old were you when you came back?
So I came back and we came to Bangor really, and my dad had a post here as a consultant, and I went to, I did last year of primary school in St Paul's, which is again Welsh speaking primary
Mm.
school, and then I went to Friars Grammar School. I just about scraped the 11 plus, which was an exam you had to take in those days.
Mm.
Just about scraped that and went to Friars Grammar School, and yeah, I liked school. It was okay, but I was more. I liked the sport more than anything else. I didn't. I wasn't very academic, to be honest.
Right.
Uh,
Wow.
yeah.
And what were your interests? I mean, apart from sport, I mean, what did you have any inkling on what you wanted to do? I mean, did you think, well, I'm going to be a chartered surveyor,
No,
or
no,
was it?
no. I used to have in those days. I used to have careers officers coming to school. Do
I
you remember
remember
that? I
them,
used to use,
yeah.
and I can remember sitting in front of the careers officer, and she goes, "Right," she says, "You seem to me after having a chat with you, you seem a very sort of outgoing sort of person." She said, "I think you do a really good probation officer," and I went, "What?"
Whoa.
And I went, "You are joking me. There's no way I want to be." But she had a little box that she had to tick to see
Yeah,
whether she
yeah.
got someone in. I said, "There's no way." Anyway, I had, this is when I was about 15, 16. Yeah. So I'd done my O levels, there were then GCSEs, and
Mm.
I got about six, I think, in just the usual English, maths, that sort of thing, Welsh. And I thought, I started doing A levels and I really could not do it. I was doing botany, zoology, and geography, I think. And
Wow.
I can remember Mr. Martin, who was our biology teacher, saying to me, "Hardy, you'll never make it." And I thought, no, you're quite right, actually. So, so I had an uncle Dennis. He wasn't my real uncle, but he was one of my dad's friends who'd been
Mm.
around the family for years. And Uncle Dennis, he'd always been. He was a biochemist, worked for the agricultural Minivag, and
Mm.
he was a frustrated rural estate agent, really, surveyor.
Mm.
And he said, "Well, why doesn't David try and become an estate agent?" So they found me an advert in the paper. Bob Parry it was in Carnarvon, but when we
Gosh.
applied for that, the job had gone.
Mm.
And there was a job going with a company called Rag Travis and Co. Sounds like
Wow.
a TV program, doesn't it? But Rag Travis
Yeah.
and Co. And I went for an interview there, and it was on the first floor of Williams and Glenn's Bank in Colwyn Bay. My dad took me. He stayed in the car. I went in, saw the principal, Jeffrey B. Travis, nice chap, and
Jeffrey B.
yeah, and we had a chat about my rugby career because, as I say, sport was my thing when I was in school, about rugby and my cricket and athletics and stuff like that. And then he says, "Who you come with?" I says, "Oh, my dad." I says, "He's in the car." He says, "Well, we'll go and fetch him." So I went to go outside. Dad says, "Come on,
Oh,
got to come in." So my dad came in and he sat down, and Jeffrey Travis said, "Well, Dr. Hardy, I think, yes, David has obviously showed some aptitude. I'd like to take him on as an article pupil." And
oh.
my dad went, "Oh, that's very good. That's excellent, Mr. Travis. How much do you want us to pay you for his articles? Because in those days, you had to pay for your
Mm.
articles." And Jeff Travis turned and said, "Oh no, Dr. Hardy, those days have gone now. We don't do that. We pay them now." At which my ears pricked up and I thought, "Oh well, I've got to get some paper money for that." And he said, "We're going to pay him. We'll start him off at £3 a week, and
Wow.
after 2 years being there, I did a external course in Liverpool in a college building, and got my first pass on my chartered auctioneers and estate agents exams, and I got a rise of 10 bob. So that's
Wow.
50p, isn't it? 50p.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I thought, do you know what? I was 16 when I joined the company. I was 18 when I got my first exams. And I thought, do you know what? I want to go to college or just go enjoy myself. And
Wow.
that's how I feel for these kids now, that they're going to
Yeah,
university and,
yeah.
oh man, they got to go through all this COVID and stuff like that. And they're locked up in their rooms.
I know.
But it's just surreal, isn't it? It's just
Yeah,
surreal.
so tough.
Mm.
So how
So,
did you then start? So how did you get from that to starting your own practice?
oh, well, the the college I went to Sheffield. It was a college of
Okay.
further education, really, and they set this. They were following the course externally, so it wasn't internal set exams. And I passed my intermediate exams, and each set of exams were 6 or 7 subjects, which you
Mm.
took in a week over a course of a week, and
Mm.
that you had to pass every one. Um, Otherwise, you had to take them all again.
Oh
Um,
my life.
so, so I passed obviously the first ones before I went to college full time. Then I passed my intermediate ones first time, which was an absolutely amazing. Can't believe it. Because you can imagine, and I'm sure you're the same, that when I was in college, I used to do more enjoyment than anything else. I didn't do much
Yeah,
academics
why wouldn't you?
there. Yeah, and and so I did the third set, which were the finals, and I failed, and which wasn't surprising really because I didn't any work for them. And it took me about 4 goes to do my get my final exams in the end. And when I passed, I think the pass rate was about 27, 28% of the whole of the UK child surveyors. That was the pass rate, which was pretty low.
Wow.
Yeah. But
Wow.
from there, I went to work for various companies, got made redundant. I've been made redundant about 3 or 4 times in my career.
Mm.
Um, I then decided I want to come home because I was married then. I think I just married, wanted to come home. So there was a job going for the Welsh Development Agency, which is now
Mm.
part of the Welsh government,
Mm.
which was a brilliant, brilliant brand. WDA. I don't
Ah,
know
brilliant.
how
Yeah.
don't know why they just got sucked into Welsh
Mm.
government, didn't it, or the Labour Party, whatever, took it in. And so I came to work for the WDA, and I remember having, and this again, where my dad had an influence, that we had to go down to Cardiff to for the interview in Treforest, and my dad um, had found that there was an economic paper that had just been written, and he'd got hold of a copy, it hadn't been released. And all the way down, I read this economic paper. So when I went into the interview, they were asking questions about the future of commercial developments
Brilliant.
in Wales, etc.
Brilliant.
And I was coming up with these pearl of answers that, and they just looked at me and just went, "Wow, this guy really
Genius.
does it." Yeah, he's like in front of everyone here. He knows everything, and and it was only because my dad had west this copy out of the university, I think, and
That's so
so I
cool.
got the job. I got the job, and I was based. I came back to Bangor, where I come from originally, and I was made area state surveyor for the Welsh Development Agency, and it
Wow.
was a new position that they created in Northwest Wales. And I worked under a guy called Graham Watson, who was the boss in Wrexham then, and yeah, I had a great time. Yeah,
Oh, lovely. Oh, lovely. So, what
yeah.
would you say, who or what and who has helped you along the way? Are there any sort of significant figures? I mean, obviously, your dad plays a huge
Oh,
part, doesn't
my dad played a big part. He only died this Easter, actually, this
he?
last Easter. He was
I'm
92,
sorry.
and fantastic guy, so knowledgeable. And I used to, he lived in the cottage we got across the yard, and for 2 years, and it was just a privilege and being living there because I could
Oh,
see him 4 or 5 times a day, and I used to love the chats we used to have. The about all sorts, Trump, politics, a lot. So there was a lot of expletives in our conversations. So sad about that. But yeah, so he was a very, very big influence on my career. I think the other sort of thing that made it was that when we were an agency, I'm jumping on now, but when we were an
mm,
agency, we sold out to the Prudential. That I went into a management role with the Prudential Property Services,
mm.
and for the first time ever, I got to know about spreadsheets and all that sort of stuff, management speak, and went to Ashridge Management College, and that had a big influence on me in the sort of change of how business is run, really, which was fantastic.
No,
Um,
that's really good.
yeah, and the other guy, Who had an influence on me earlier on in my career, my sporting career, was a guy called Terry Lewis, he was the sports master in Friars, and he was phenomenal and very encouraging, and cajoled you and really pushed
Mm.
you. Um, and yeah, and it's funny how families, that it's your family really, isn't it? And that's where family is really important. Is that there are always those people in your family you just go, wow, My grandfather on my mother's side, my Tide, he was a
Mm.
minister in Conwy in
Wow.
the end, a
Wow.
reverend, and he went to in the 1960s. He did a swap with a guy in Detroit, and in the early 60s, he went to Detroit to
Wow.
minister for 12 months.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and he was a big character, big character.
Wow.
But
It's
there we are.
amazing what people do, isn't it? Don't you think?
Oh, it's lovely. Don't you ever want to? Sometimes you're in a restaurant or you're somewhere and you just go like, I want to freeze time. Everyone's got to freeze, but you can move around, and then you
Mm.
can go talk to individuals and see why they're there, where they come
Mm.
from, what they do, and my kids get really embarrassed with me because the first time I meet their friends or their mum, their friends' mums and dads and whatever, first thing I ask them is, what do you do? And they
Yeah.
go, oh, Dad, you shouldn't be asking that. And,
Yeah, I do the same.
and then when my girls used to bring boyfriends home, I used to say to them, I get this, I wouldn't do it now, but I used to say, what newspaper do you read? And they just
Oh,
look at me
brilliant.
blank and go, oh, newspaper? I don't think I read a newspaper. I go, what?
Wow, how fantastic. So,
Yeah.
okay, now, so what keeps you going when things get tough? Well, how do you sort of, because I mean, it must have been tough for you for the last 6 months or so. So, how do you dig deep? Where do you dig deep into?
I think I just consciously go into a corner and just reflect. And
Wow.
when you do that and you reflect on not just yourself and what you've done and where your family are at and where your kids are and whatever and your nieces and so on,
Mm.
nephews, you just reflect on where other people are at. It's like freezing that room, isn't it? And you go, right, okay,
Mm.
where are you at this moment in time? And then there's this appreciation, I suppose, that you come out of it and you go, do you know what? You've had such a lovely, varied life, and you are where you are now in a really good place. So, what are you moaning at? You know, what
Oh,
what is
lovely.
what is the worst thing that could happen? And
Oh,
I think that's the way I get over it. And so it's like it gives you a jolt, doesn't it? So come on, get yourself together, just move on, basically. Yeah.
that's really lovely. I love that. That's
Mm.
really nice. And what, I mean, if you could go back, to the young David who was over in Boston, what advice
Yeah.
would you give him
Oh my God.
from
Oh my
now?
God. Yeah. There are loads of little crossroads in your life, aren't there? And you say
Mm.
to yourself, if I'd have done that, I wonder what would have happened. And if
Mm.
we'd have done this, and there are two, three that spring to mind. But I can remember that being in Boston, my dad was obviously, well, he was very well thought of as an anaesthetist there. He worked under a guy called Professor Van Dam, who was a leading authority, world authority on his field.
Wow.
Um, and I often say to him, I used to say to him, I said, why did we come back to Bangor, Wales, for God's sake? No, why didn't you stop out there? Because he was offered a job out there. I think he was one of the jobs he was offered was in Calgary, I think, in Canada. And you go, well, why? You could have been a dollar millionaire. And he used to shake his head and he used to look at me real funny and say, well, he says, your mother, he says, your mother's Welsh, she's Welsh speaking, and she wants to bring you kids up in a Welsh culture. And
Oh,
and he'd say, and he'd always end it by saying, and do you know what, David? I have no regrets whatsoever. And that was
oh,
wonderful because that put me in my place really. And so that could have been one point of it, I suppose.
mm,
There have been many in business that you think, oh well, if we'd have bought that
mm,
company or we should have opened in that location, where would our company be now? Had we set the
mm,
company up differently by bringing more partners in to open and create local partnerships in every town? We would have expanded the company much more. Um, so yeah, and the other thing, which I've only recently come to terms with, which is in the last sort of 5 years, really, is um, my co-director myself, Richard Thomas. He's a brilliant guy, very very clever, um, and but he's a deep thinker, real deep
Mm.
thinker. And you ask Richard a question, it may take 2 minutes for him to answer you because he's formulating the answer, thinking how he's going to tell you it, and when he does deliver it, wow, it's a great
Mm.
delivery, and it comes out. Me, someone asks me a question, I just go bang. I just
Mm.
think, talk before I think, and I've had to in the last sort of 4 or 5 years just train myself to stop, mentally count to 10 or whatever, and then say what I think. And I've had to really
Brilliant.
do myself because I think listening is a really really difficult art because you want to fill space all the time, don't you? And that you ask the question, and it's with Richie. I asked Richard a question, and I just want to fill it in for him just to add to what he's thinking about. But I stopped myself doing it now, and we'll sit there in silence for about 2 3 minutes, and you go, "I'm going to get an answer in a minute. I will get an answer, and it will be a good one." Um, and that's so. Listening is such an important skill, I think.
I love that. And what advice would you pass on to others? I mean, if you could, because young people, I mean, geez, it's tough, isn't it, out there for them?
Yeah.
So, what advice would you give them?
Oh, I
I
think.
mean, obviously the listening thing, but
Yeah, but I also think just be really kind to people. Don't never
oh,
hate anybody, because hate
oh,
is such a horrible thing, isn't it? So
mm,
just be kind to people. Just be nice to people. Look for the good bits in people and not the bad things. Which sounds a bit schmaltzy, but I mean it sincerely. Um,
certainly.
but also, and I think this is the one that's where I've been able to succeed. I think is networking, and that
Mm,
do as many things as you can do, so that you can meet as many people from such diverse backgrounds, so you can just soak up what their thinking is, what their action plans are, where they want to be, what they're actually doing.
mm,
um, and it just opens your whole world up when you meet new people all the time. And that to me has got to be the most important thing. Don't get me wrong, I've got a lot of very close
mm,
friends, and that's my little circle, but I've got a lot of people who I know from a networking viewpoint, um, and I'm friendly with them, and
mm.
that's why I'm so involved in. I'm a trustee on the St David's Hospice charity,
Uh,
which is palliative care, and I've met so many lovely people there. I'm also a trustee on a dementia charity called Cook Gwyrdd, with
mm,
a girl called Michelle Phillips, and that's been brilliant. And again, met so it just opens up and it just widens your net of people that
mm.
you can speak to, and that gives you a really interesting life then because you get so many different experiences, don't you?
I love that. So nice. And what one word would you use to describe yourself?
Oh, what one word? I think I'm genuine.
Yeah,
Um,
lovely.
in the sense that what you see is what you get.
Yeah, it's
Um,
beautiful.
I don't hide. I try not to hide behind anything. Um, and I think basically, yeah, I'm a genuine person. And I think if you ask most people, they would say that, yeah, I don't think, yeah, Dan has done me any wrong at all. Um, and I think you have to
Mm,
be that to a certain extent in the job that I'm doing because you're an agent, and therefore you're dealing with things, not material things, in the sense of that your service is about communication. It's a bit about being transparent. It's about being very simple in the way that you express things. It's being able to speak in your mother tongue, because
Mm,
50, 60% of my business will be done in Welsh. But you've also got to be able to express yourself in both languages, which is really important.
that's
Yeah.
lovely. That's really, it's a lovely. In actual fact, I, for people listening to this, that is your word. I mean, you are just so genuine. It's lovely.
Oh,
And
geez.
what legacy would you like to leave behind? I mean, we're all going to pop off at some point.
Yeah, I
That we
know.
do know. So, what would your
Yeah.
legacy like to be to that you'll leave behind?
I think my legacy is, and this is where I'm not struggling with at the moment, but I'm coming to an end of a very sort of career which I've really enjoyed. Like to leave the legacy of the company, as to where it stands and what it stands for from a brand viewpoint. And that I'm not so precious about if people want to change the name, that it will do at future dates. Um, but it's the legacy of that really in leaving a company which is in good spirits, it's in good heart, it's financially sound, and that you know it employs people that are local to the area, and they actually, well, depend on it is probably too strong a word, but
Mm.
they're, they're happy working for us, and a happy workforce is a great workforce, isn't it? And especially in these times, especially in these times.
So lovely. You're amazing. Do you know what? I've
No,
known. I miss you. No, yeah, I've known
I'm
you
going to
for
interview
years.
you next time, Sid. I'm going to interview
Well, I'll refuse to comment. Of course, I will be out at the time. But
you. Yeah.
it's just lovely, and everything that I know of you, and now I know even more. I love that whole thing about going to Boston and putting it on the map, or Wales on the map. I
Oh
love
yeah,
all
you
of
got to do that,
that.
haven't you? Hey, you got to do that. You know, we went to the Euros. Was it 2017? Was it something like that?
Mm,
There were four of us. That was a blast. And there, you were really proud to be Welsh because we got to the semis, whatever. And
mm,
wow!
mm.
And then with the rugby, although we're not doing so well in rugby at the moment, but it's just nice to be Welsh, isn't it? And believe it or not, I tell you, but I was born in Trowbridge in Wiltshire. Don't tell many people that, do you? Don't tell many people.
You're
But my
so
heart's
honest too.
Welsh.
Well, crumbs, your mother. I mean, yeah, she was Welsh, wasn't she? Through and
Yeah, of
through.
course it was. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Mm.
Thank you so much. I'd learn even more. And I love that thing about you saying kind of meet as many people as you can, that whole eclectic and kind of diverse. I love that. That is
Yeah.
about connection, isn't it? And network and
Good.
whatever. But thank you
It's
so much for
it's
your time.
lovely
It's
to be
lovely
able to
to.
talk about yourself. Not many people listen these days, do they? So thanks for the
No,
opportunity, Sid.
you're very welcome, David. And I hopefully will see you very soon.
All right. Okay, mate. Thanks a
All
lot.
right.
Bye
Big
bye.
hug. Bye bye.
Bye
Bye
bye.
bye.
Bye
Bye.
bye.